Right, guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the Retro and Real podcast. I want to welcome everybody on Twitch, on TikTok, Kick, and YouTube. We are live broadcasting across all platforms. And today we have a wonderful guest for you. Today's guest is a true retro warrior in the wild. You know him as Fumblez, the retro video game hunter. But his journey is way deeper than that, guys. All right, from carts and consoles. We're talking about a 15-year YouTube grind. Deep love for the hunt and stories that stretch from the flea market to the real world. From rare finds and gaming memories to life as a mechanic, a baker, a Gundam builder, and a man who really lived some real battles. All right, so guys, please welcome my guest this week, Fumblez, the Retro Hunter. Welcome, dude. How's it going today? Thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast. I hope your Sunday is doing well. Can you please, for those that may not know who you are, give us a little brief description about yourself and a little bit about your retro journey and so forth?
Yes, of course. First of all, thank you for asking me to be a part of the show. If people know me, my name is Fumbles, retro game hunter. Been retro collecting for a little bit over 4 years, give or take. Before that, I was on social media for about 15 years or so, off and on with YouTube and different various projects that you probably will see further on in this. I'm a man of God, this overall, this, like retro collecting, just like being in the retro scene. I just like, reliving my childhood pretty much. It's a big kid at
Cool,
heart.
cool. So, all right. So let's not waste any time. You know the important questions we got to ask right out of the gate. All right, all right. So, of course, as we always start every episode, we need to know: do you like pineapple on pizza?
Is there any other way to enjoy pizza? Like, of
I'm
course.
guessing that's a yes.
Yes, of
Guys,
course.
we're 2-0. 2-0. We got another pineapple on pizza, friends. All right. So that's 2-0. If you guys are keeping score, it's 2 for pineapple on pizza. Okay. And so we'll find out next week if our guest likes pineapple on pizza. But right now, guys, if you're keeping score, it's 2-0. And of course, the other important question, the toilet paper roll, is it a beard or is it a mullet? Do you put the toilet paper forward or back on the roll?
Um, we put it backwards.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Why is that? Is there a specific reason?
No, it's just how we just do it. I mean, my wife is just very specific, so she controls, all that aspect. So that's how she puts it. That's how it is. I'm not gonna argue with that.
So guys, okay. I see some people saying forward only. I do it forward. Last week we had forward. So toilet paper beard and toilet paper mullet. We got 1-1. So this week we are 1-1 on the toilet paper, but we're still 2-0 on pineapple.
Hmm.
So all right, let's get into some questions and then we'll look at some of the wonderful collection that you provided me with and you know that I asked for. I like to ask people to give a bunch of stuff of their collection and stuff like that. So, um, what was your first game that changed your life and made you actually fall in love with gaming?
That game will have to probably be was it Need for Speed for the Commodore. My uncle back in the day had a Commodore and he had a floppy disk. I know people, that's how old I am, I guess. I still remember floppy disk. And he had a old school computer, Commodore, and we used to play. Me and my cousin, who's really like the person that actually fully got me into gaming, we used to play Need for Speed as kids, and then we just got into that, and then I led into Genesis, Sega Kids, and just left from that. So the Need for Speed from the Commodore was like that was the game.
That was the game. So we're going back. You had an extensive, long time of history here, Commodore 64.
Yeah,
So
so I'm not yeah, so it's going back like, wow, like heavily the early 90s, 91, 92. I was living, we had a family home in Queens, And me and my cousin, we grew up as brothers, kind of, and we used to play video games all the time. And one of the games that we first was able to play was my uncle, who's heavily into gaming as well. He's the one that actually got us into gaming because he's a big gamer and he had all the old school systems and stuff. And we used to, when he used to go to work, we used to play his games, but I'm not knowing. Well, now he knows, but before he did.
Well, listen, I think he knows now. I mean, the secret out, guys. Don't tell him we're buying his video games but I guess everybody knows by now. So how did the name Fumblez? What's the name Fumblez Retro Hunter? Can you give a little bit of backstory on to why Fumblez?
Well, I got to take a home.
Yeah, please drink. Everybody drink up. Get get whatever you want. Cheers.
So Fumbles actually started, I want to say, a little bit over maybe 8 years ago when I was heavily involved in airsoft. And I was part of the airsoft team, two airsoft teams at the time. One was Five Borough Tactical, and another one was Final Measures, and was coming out with call signs. And I couldn't think of a call sign. And then one day we was on the field and I tripped and I fell and stuff. And they was like, yo, you so clumsy. Like they call me Fumbles. It's like, I don't know if anybody ever saw the Robot Chicken sketch with G.I. Joe. And it was like, oh, they call them Fumbles. That's pretty much how my name came about. And then it just kind of just fell into my life since, I'm 6'5" and I'm just clumsy. Like I just, so it just
So it just went from there, and then the Retro Hunter. Where's that part? I guess.
So the Retro Hunter came in when I was started collecting, and I was trying to separate this platform from my previous platform, and I needed something to catch. First, I was calling myself the 6 foot Retro Hunter, which didn't really seem right. And then I was like, you know what? Why did you use Fumbles? And then I used Fumbles, the Retro Hunter, and I named this took, and it's 4 years later, still being used.
Gotcha. So I've we've talked briefly, and stuff about your collecting and your retro game hunting, and what's been the most surprising or emotional game find that you experience in your hunting?
It would have to be, it was actually, I would say, 3 games that I collected that I actually brought back some emotional finds. One of the games was Tony Hawk, Pro Skater 2, and that had something to do with my father and my brothers back in the day. Another one was Halo, the original Halo, because that's me and my friends used to play live and breathe Halo. And another one was Dead or Alive 3, and that was because so that was one of my favorite fighting games, and I just get my butt kicked all the time. I still have a friend who still deserves. I still got to give him a L in that game. But I would say the main game was probably Tony Hawk and even Wu Tang fighting game because it just reminded me of my dad and stuff like that who passed away in 2011.
Which we're definitely going to touch base on that a lot later in the show, guys. So don't go anywhere. We're definitely going to be visiting that a little later on the show as well. Was there ever a game that you regret not picking up that you saw that at during your hunt at a convention or a swap meet or anything like that?
Wow, yeah. There was tons of games. One of the games I kind of wish I picked up was Hertz Adventure. I was this close to getting it for the Sega Saturn for a great price, but caused a day pass, and then it was able to be sold to somebody else. Another one was what was that game? Oh man, I keep forgetting this game, but it was like Rad. I almost came close to getting. I kind of wish that I would have picked up, certain titles I would have picked up a little bit earlier while I was able to, especially for like the Dreamcast or the GameCube. But I think with that specific title, Hertz Adventure, when I was like so close to getting it, and even anybody that's a Sega Saturn fan knows Hertz Adventure is like kind of expensive now. Like it's more
Right.
than the actual console itself. So,
Yeah, it's pretty pricey. Definitely pretty pricey. Have you ever been duped?
yeah,
Have you ever bought a game like, wow, oh my God, I can't believe I found this, and you buy it, and then you come home and you're like, what the hell is this? And
yeah.
how did you know that you've been duped? And what would you say to other people that are looking for, out there that might not know what to look for? What gave it away to you that this was a fake? This was you're being duped. this is not the game.
That happened to me twice.
Happened to you
So
twice. Interesting.
yes, and I learned from my mistake. Um, so the first time it happened to me when I was on eBay, and I tell everybody, be careful when you buy video games off of eBay because you're not sure what you're getting. I brought Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. I was hyped about it, loved, I wanted to play the original Metal Gear, got it home, and the whole disc is full of disc drive. Like the front game is cracked and everything. And I should have realized that the guy never really posted no actual pictures of the actual game itself. It was just like a generic photo of
But
the game.
was it the real genuine article? Was it the real game, or was it just bad condition, or was it a fake game?
It was a real game.
It was a real game. Okay.
Game. But so I learned later on that Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes for the GameCube, those versions suffer from disc rot. So you have to be careful when you get those games because those games, how they made that specific game, it just suffers badly from disc rot. And
Gotcha.
I've been noticing that. So when I got it, that's when I was like, oh crap, I opened it, wasn't it? And I was tight, contacted the seller, pretty much, went back and forth. And the game worked. It worked great, but it's just
Right.
disc rot. So it's just like, I don't feel comfortable reselling this game and I'm not going to get much for it because of that. So I kind of got to eat that price.
I understand that. And the other one, was that a fake game, or was that a real game as well?
So the other one was it was a kind of a real game, but it had a lot of it had a scratch in the front. So I got this at a convention. And this was why I learned. I tell everybody when you buy video games or controllers, you gotta do it like how you're buying like a ring or whatever. Like, go inspect it, bring it to your ear, this controller, make sure it clicks. I will tell everybody, take a disc and hold it up to the light. And then if you can see through it, that means there's holes in the front. So people don't realize a lot of the data is in the front of the disc. It
Right.
was Spider-Man Edge of Time and had a scratch in the front and it would not work at all. I'm lucky I was able to get that rectified, but that's when I realized I paid all this money for a Spider-Man game. And as you know as well, Spider-Man games are a hell of expensive. And it had, scratch in the front that I didn't see, which hence caused me to mess that up. Actually, that happened to me 2 retro expos ago at the Long Island.
Yeah, I heard very good things about that. I've never been there myself. I do plan on eventually, I think, maybe visiting one of those, because I am a part of their community on Facebook. They have a very big community. I'm pretty sure you're aware as well, being a visitor of that region and hunting there. And that brings me to my next question: where do you decide to hunt for retro gold? Do you have a specific research? Is it a gut feeling, or a luck feeling? How do you decide where to hunt?
So I tell everybody there's certain seasons, and depending on the season is depending where you go hunt. Usually springtime is perfect time to go to garage sales, flea markets, because usually everybody was throwing stuff during the winter, and in the springtime they're trying to offload some of this stuff. So garage sales are like the perfect time. Like the springtime is the perfect time to go to garage sales, flea markets. I love going to flea markets. You can find some great stuff with flea markets. You just got to get there early. The main key is getting there when they first open. If you don't get there when they first open, you're kind of going to miss out on a lot of stuff. So I always tell everybody, if you see a flea market around your area, find out what time they open and get there the
And
first day.
get there very early, right?
Yes, definitely very early. And it's also kind of a feel. Like I look online, if I see certain titles or see something, because sometimes you'll go to a place and it'll just be like, wow, nothing but shovelware. But if you can feel it out, sometimes it shows some pictures or stuff like that. Then I also use like Facebook's a great reference I use.
Right.
And then also I try to stay away from like eBay because like I said with eBay, you're not really sure the condition you're getting, especially you buying some high-end games.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
also look for
if you know someone that you bought from eBay, trusted seller a million times, yeah, but it's definitely you definitely have to watch out,
yeah.
because if you don't know the seller, it's very hard. But so for sure you want to watch out. And speaking of pictures, I definitely want to get into your pictures and stuff that you provided, and I want to talk about a little bit more about your collection and a little bit about what you collect. So let's take a look at this picture here first. Okay, and can you tell me? There's a lot going on in this particular picture here. This is also the background image of where you're currently sitting here, and we got a
Yeah.
lot to talk about. I see GameCube, I see N64 controllers, I see Dreamcast, PlayStation. So there's a lot. Do you have a specific console that you like to collect for?
So the Pacific console at one point I loved to collect for was the PS3. I
And
feel like the
I could
PlayStation
clearly
3.
see that. I could clearly see
Yeah.
there's a lot of PlayStation stuff in this picture. Can you tell me, like, specifically, about this picture here, and what are some of your favorite things in this picture?
Well, this picture here, this whole design of the picture, the background behind me is all thanks to my wife. When I was redoing my room, she came up with the idea of how to position everything to make it look nice and not cluttered. So I love her for that. She helped make this wall pop. I wanted to get kind of like the whole original. I know people remember Funko Land back in the day. Like I want to get kind of like that display. So I 3D printed those signs that once said Sony and Xbox and Nintendo to
Right.
kind of get like categories. And I love the Nintendo 64 controllers, the Fantastic series.
Yeah, and I
So
definitely do see that you have a lot of N64 controllers. Is that one of your favorite systems, or is it the PS3?
believe it or
Because I do see a lot of N64 controllers and a lot of different colored controllers. Do you have a favorite?
Yes. So my favorite one is the extreme green one. And the whole collection for the N64 is that I always wanted different color controllers when I was younger, when it came out of the Fantastic series, because they're
Right.
all different N64s. I always just got stuck with the black one. So when I had the opportunity to actually get all the controller colors, I just jumped on it. And actually, the first one I got was the extreme green, which I'm glad I did because that price is kind of up.
Yeah, that's a little
And
bit harder to find now for sure.
yes, and this one's actually modded, so it has a GameCube analog stick versus the original one. So this
Okay.
one's like in mint condition. When it comes to like my favorite console, the N64 is definitely one of my favorite consoles because I have a lot of memories back in the day playing GoldenEye with my friends and stuff like that. Me and my cousin, I'm going to be bringing him up a lot. Me and him used to play N64 a lot. We used to play Pokemon Stadium, games like that. That was like our real kind of main system until I got into Xbox. But my overall favorite system out of all this collection would be my original Xbox and my Dreamcast.
Nice.
Original Xbox a little bit more.
And also, let's talk about this one here you sent me here, which is a lot of box stuff. So I don't know exactly what's going on all here. Is there a specific item that you want to discuss here? I mean, the Sega Saturn stuff definitely, stands out to me for sure. And a couple other things here stand out, but we'll get to that too because you did provide some other pictures as well. Can you tell me a little bit about this here and what is that Sega Saturn box?
So the Sega Saturn box, there's two Sega Saturn boxes up here. One is for virtual on, and one is the white Japanese steering wheel. So the virtual on box I got from Brooklyn Video Games. Shout out to them because they hold this for me because I told them I wanted it. And I'm a big mech fan. I love mechs. I love robots. Like I grew up, in the era where
The
like
Gundams, the
yeah.
Gundams which we
So
mentioned earlier. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So when I had the chance to get this controller, I just jumped on it. So one of the inbox Saturn stuff is the Virtual Arms controller, and the other one is the white steering wheel from Japan.
Nice.
My favorite item on there is actually the last item in the back, and that is the Renegade DJ Hero thing from to the PS3 DJ Hero. So that one has the Eminem, that's the Eminem Jay Z edition. It's black and gold. I got that for like $20 one night. Like I literally left work and went straight into Brooklyn and picked it up. And it has those stands and everything. And that's like my favorite, part of this. Plus, my brother's a DJ, so I figured, I was, joke with him, and we have like, little battles with it and stuff. And
Cool,
then
cool,
below
cool.
that, I have a little collection for handhelds because the 90s and early
Right,
2000s,
and I know we seen that here, which I'm gonna bring that up here. Okay, which I believe we have that picture here a little closer up, and here are some of the handhelds. Do you have a favorite handheld?
yes, that would be the Game Boy Advance.
The Game Boy Advance. That's a good one. That's a good
Yes.
one. I definitely enjoy some of the Game Boy Advance games myself. I haven't really collected a lot of handheld games. Do you find that since you have an assortment of handhelds here, do you find it harder to collect for handheld, or is it easier to collect for handheld? Because is it more sought out of or less sought out of?
So it kind of all depends on what you're hunting for. Like for instance, anything Pokemon related is going to be a little more difficult and more high and expensive. You can find it, but
Right, of
you'll have to pay
course.
the premium. For Game Boy Advance games, you can find decent games for decent prices. Like I said, it all depends on the title. I've learned that Game Boy Color, some Game Boy Advance game, PSP games are actually easier to find price wise, and even Game Gear. But when you start getting into your Wario Lands, your especially any Dragon Ball Z related, the Game Boy Advance actually has some great Dragon Ball Z games, The Legacy of Goku 1 and 2. It all depends on what you kind of hunt for. I
Right.
find it a little more easy to get Game Boy Advance games and get some handheld games because not a lot of people really collect for the handhelds than regular games. I've been finding that, like I said, Game Boy Advance, even the original DS is actually way easier to collect for sometimes, depending on the game.
Depending on the
Versus,
game. I
yeah.
gotcha. And of course, I have to bring up this and this picture here. One of my favorite. Okay. I have to talk about a couple things that I stand out to me in this picture here in your collection. Obviously, the Pokedex, which we touched on Pokemon. We definitely see some Pokemon stuff here. And of course, the Gray Sports Almanac. I think that's kind of cool. That's one of my favorite things you shared with me. Can you tell me what's going on this here on this particular shelf? Is there something specific? Is it the Pokédex? Is it the Poke? I guess it looks like a Poke Watch. I'm not sure. Is it the Almanac? Is it the Polaroid camera? What is like the thing that stands out to you? And here and how's it? So tell me a little bit about this here. What do we see here?
So the main thing that probably pops out to me would be the Pokemon Pokedex and the Almanac. So back in the early 90s, well, mid 90s actually, my mom used to take me to the city. She wanted me to get used to the city. My mom was she was a city person. And one day she took me to downtown Chinatown, and that's when you used to get all the exclusive stuff from Japan, and that's when I got my first Pokedex. So a couple years ago at the Retro Expo, I was able to get one, and I wanted the original one. Like I'm a big fan of Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon. Not really a big
Hmm.
fan of the higher end, but that's the one. So when I saw that at the Retro Expo, I just jumped on it. And then the sports almanac, you see right in front of that picture, I have a little Back to the Future car that was from McDonald's.
Oh, so that's what
I
that
remember
is. Okay.
yeah. So back in the early 90s, Back to the Future had a cartoon. And then this was toys from the cartoon. So you got like the DeLorean, you got this, and then you like put it on the floor and try to like roll it, the back of it sparks up. And I
Right,
was
I
able to get
remember that.
that.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
that
So I
stuff.
was able to get that. And
That's
then the
pretty
sports
cool.
almanac. Yeah, so there's a store called Retro Source that had a event where they had the Back to the Future card and everything like
Oh,
that.
nice, dude.
People came dressed up as people from the actual Back to the Future. And one of the store's mascots is called Retro Billy, and he dressed up as Doc Brown. And they had the
Oh,
almanac. And you see
okay.
that almanac is signed, and then they had the toys from Burger King, McDonald's there. So that's why I picked that up. And that's like my two favorite items on it because it reminds me, love Back to the Future, love Pokemon. It was just perfect. And one of
I could definitely tell that you love Pokemon because I'm about to show something that I think a lot of people really wish they had in their collection, and that is this here, the Pokemon N64. So tell me a little bit about this. What do you got hooked up on this? And I do see a Sega Saturn underneath there as well. So, but I definitely want to talk about and tell me how you obtained this. What's this mean to you as a Pokemon fan, and what exactly do you have hooked up in this N64?
So the Pokemon, how that whole thing came about was I had a friend who just wanted to get rid of it. So he gave me an awesome price for his whole N64 collection. I picked it up and I always wondered, this is like one of those holy grail for Nintendo. Well, everybody who loves N64, this is like one of the holy grail items. So I was able to get that connected to it. I have a hyperlink wireless controller because I wanted to be able to play without wires with all my consoles. So I attached that to it, and I also added the expansion pack as well. So that's what's all the stuff that's really connected to it. Or I think in that picture, I have the N64 cleaning cart to keep the paint from getting too dirty.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
And of course, I got to talk about this. Okay. What is this? Because I'm confused. Did we talk about this before? I know we briefly talked about this offline when I saw it. I don't think many of us know what this is. Can you please tell us what is this? What am I seeing here?
So what you're looking at right now is the original Xbox Holy Grail. That is it's from the game called Steel Battalion. Back in the early 2000s, they came out with a game called Steel Battalion, and their thinking was make a controller that replicates the actual mech. So that controller literally is a all the buttons that will be in the actual mech. So you control
Wow.
everything and all the buttons. Yeah, that is like the holy grail for any mech lover, especially if you're an OG Xbox fan. That controller alone is like more expensive than actually the Xbox I currently own. And I had somebody who just wanted to get rid of it, and I just keep it on display. Like if you're a mech fan, that's the
That's definitely the
thing.
holy grail to have.
That's definitely the Holy Grail. Yes, it's
Awesome,
a
man.
limited
Awesome,
game.
awesome, awesome. So, is that the most expensive item in your collection, or is there something more expensive that you currently own?
So that's one of the expensive items in my collection. I would have to say it's kind of tied between my original Xbox, the Halo edition, and then one of my video games, Samurai Western. It's like they're kind of almost up there as one of those special items. But that's pretty up there. That controller, that controller right now, I think goes for almost three and some change just for the controller. And
Oh,
then the game itself goes for $100, and you can't play the game without the controller. So you're gonna be in like almost $400 just to play it. So
okay.
like prices kind of vary, but that's probably like one of the more expensive items in my collection.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now I know we've talked about your social media and your content grinding for over a decade. Okay,
Yeah.
looking back, what was your first big moment that made you realize social media could be more than just a hobby?
So that would have to be back in I want to say 2011, 2012. I was doing heavily doing car meets back in the that day. Me and my friends were going to different car meets, and I met a lot of interesting people. And I started getting a little buzz. It was getting invited to car meets, we getting things, really like certain venues for free and stuff like that. And I was like, no, it actually could be kind of lucrative. And that's when I kind of caught the bug for just doing social media and stuff like that.
So
And it just
of course, we got to talk about the name. We got to talk about the name that started it all, from what I understand. Okay, and that is the retro portion, guys. We're gonna move on to the real portion of the show. So let's talk about this here. The Rat Bastard. What
yeah.
what is Rat Bastard, and how did that you know come about? Where because I mean. It was Rat Bastard, I see Retro Hunter, and then it became Fumblez Retro Hunter. And we got the story behind that, but what's the story between this Rat Bastard character?
So this is actually the newer style design that I have made recently. And the whole rap bastard thing started in my mom's basement back in I think 2008, 2009. And we was all joking around. Me and it was two of my other friends, and we called one of my friends a rap bastard. And the name is just stuck, and it just grew from there.
So it
And
was
then
a
we
little
just
bit of
turned
a
into
banter kind of thing.
yeah, it was us calling each other rap bastards and stuff like that. We were just drinking one night, and we were just making fun of each other. And we were like,
Typical,
oh,
typical friendship. Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, "Oh, it'd be cool if we start a social media group called Rap Bastard and start doing comedy skits." And we was like, "Yeah, we were drunk drinking, so."
Of course,
And
of
then,
course.
and then we was like, "Yeah." Then next thing you know, the following day, my friend drew up the original drawing for that, and then it just led to us doing comedy skits and us doing car meets, and then later on airsoft and video game. They just
Right,
grew
right.
from there.
And I
So
actually have. Okay, I want to share this with your your little intro here, okay, with the Rat Bastard. So let's take
You
a
a
look at this.
bastard! You a
You
bastard! Ha
bastard!
ha ha ha! You a bastard!
You're a bastard. You're a bastard. So what made you decide that? Who is that as saying those words on that video?
So that's my friend, one of my friends, James Blocker, who's a singer and stuff like that, and he's a very very amazing singer. Was on Apollo and everything, and we was trying to figure out what we could do to make this logo pop out. One of my other
Mhm.
friends, his name is Kevin Casancho, he came up with the original drawing, and we were like, we're missing something. So he was like, oh, I can do it, and he made that whole saying, and it just caught, and that was what we was using to get people to watch our original car videos. Like people will see that, they're like, okay, what's this about? And it just kind of just stuck. And I used that, we used that intro for years. I think the last time it's been a long time since I even seen that intro until I remember sharing it with you. But it's just, I decided to just kind of keep my roots with me. That's why, I said it's Rap After. Even now, you see the picture of the rat in my icon. It
Right,
just kind
right,
of
right.
reminds me of my origins and stuff. But yeah, it just like I said, it all started as a joke, and even that was supposed to be a joke. But I'm like, you know what? It's actually a pretty good idea, and it just
And
ran
it
with it.
just and you said you started with cars, right? It was
Yeah,
YouTube to do cars and stuff, and this year, okay, I believe you said this was your car that you modded and you
yeah.
sold and stuff like that. Tell me about this car in particular. What's this car mean to you? Why did you sell it?
So this car was a 2001 Eclipse GT. It was the first car that I actually fully modified. We did the clutch, we did the flywheel, lightweight flywheel, Brembo brakes, the whole nine. That got pumped over like maybe 10 grand into this car. It was the first car that I was able and I had the knowledge to actually modify. And I just modified it because I had a lot of friends at the time that were getting, that had hooked up cars. Like I said, I was heavy in the car scene. This was shortly after Fast and the Furious. So everybody, especially around our age, was like, oh, Fast and the Furious and stuff. And I just always fell in love with the Eclipse. I've been a fan of the Eclipse for years. So when I picked this up, I was just in love with it. I ended up selling it because I needed something a little bit more. I'm not even adultish. I need something a little more bigger. So I ended up selling it to some kid who ended up crashing it. Sadly, a couple months after I sold it to him, and I ended up getting a charger. And it happened. My son was happily born shortly after that, so it kind of worked out because I couldn't have a car seat in a two-door car.
Right, right,
But this
right.
car, but
Yeah,
this
for
car,
sure. You need a bigger car for car seat and stuff like that.
yes.
No,
But
and
this car always kept a special niche to me because, like the first car, I still got the original key for that car too.
oh,
When I
nice,
sold it,
nice.
yeah, when I sold it, I gave him the duplicate I had, but I always kept the original key as a reminder of this is where the main car that I first fully hooked up with the engine, transmission, brakes, rims, full paint job. Like this car was super clean. It was one of the cleanest GTs out there.
Yeah, and I know you talked about you also use your YouTube for airsoft, correct? Is that
Yes,
am I correct? Is that a correct statement? Because we talked
yes.
about that. So viewer distraction is advised, and TikTok, please do not suspend or ban us for showing these are not real. These are airsoft. So TikTok. All right, so let's show this picture here. Okay, and wow, tell me what we see here because I see the pew pew airsoft there, and that's pretty cool. Tell me a little bit about this and what's going on here.
So right off the
It
bat,
looks
this
like
is the
Halo to me. I'm like, I'm ready to play Halo, baby. Let's go.
So this is an airsoft gun. I was fully into airsoft, and this is from like my original channel. And this is just my getup when I go play airsoft. I make sure I have a full mask. I had that mask. The mask came from Taiwan, fully module. So because I didn't like getting hit in the face with BBs,
Yeah, nobody wants to get
and
hit in the face. That's for sure.
and you see the name tag Fumblez. That's when I was fully started embracing the name
Embracing the
Fumblez.
name Fumbles. Gotcha.
Yeah, and I just fully just went in all. I just went all in. I have a thing where if I'm into something, I go all in. Money, I just go all in, and that's just one of the main things. I just went all in, and I just like had a blast with
And
it. I
have you
still
ever
got that
gotten
photo
hurt? Have you
display.
ever gotten hurt? I'm pretty sure you've taken a couple of shots
Oh yes,
from
I got
from
a
friends and
couple.
or family or whoever.
Yeah, I got a couple welts on my side still, a couple marks. The
Uh,
BBs, they don't really, they can penetrate your skin a little bit more bad, or I think they're a little more worse than paintballs. Paintballs will just leave a bruise, but BBs can actually pierce your skin. But I got a couple marks, they ain't not really
yeah, so let's
serious,
take a I got a video here that might show a little bit more. So let's take a look at this, guys, and enjoy. Now, this guy playing Halo in real life. What's going on?
So when I did that video, the music was done by my brother, whose name is Skip Rage. He's a big like underground artist and stuff like that. And he redid a local song called Lex Coops by Lost Boy. And he allowed me to use the song for the intro. And I wanted something action packed. So that was just me playing through certain games and stuff like that. And I just wanted, to show off how it is to play. I did a lot of outdoor games at that time. I think one of the clips, I think I actually shot one of my teammate by mistake because I didn't realize he was there. But it was just there, us just enjoying the whole aspects of playing. I guess it was just like we all like playing Call of Duty and stuff like that. So now we actually, being
Yeah.
active, having fun and not really, hurt each other, but enjoy and
Of
have
course,
fun with it, playing around with it.
definitely don't want to hurt each other. Unfortunately, though, I have to inform you that we did get suspended on TikTok. Okay, so we are
Okay.
no longer broadcasting live on TikTok, but we are live on Twitch and Kick and YouTube. That is something that I was afraid of that might have happened. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Okay, we can take a 2-minute break or whatnot to let people know what is going on, and if they want to come and join us over on Twitch or Kick. Now, we are still live broadcasting there. Unfortunately, TikTok has a lot stricter rules. I did mention that these are not real. Okay, they do look for keywords, and I think we might have slipped up and said certain things. Obviously, this is a something that I knew might have occurred. That's why we broadcast on Twitch and Kick and so forth. I do apologize for those people that have lost, the footage. Obviously, everyone can go back and watch it on Spotify. I will be uploading it on Spotify as well. So if you did miss something, please, go back and watch it. We're still live on, as I mentioned, we are still live on Twitch and on Kick. So if you want to take 2 minutes or so to, just let everybody know, we can do that. So we can be right back, guys. All right. And we will let everybody know that we are still live here. So this way he could let his family know, because I know he's a big family guy, which we definitely going to talk about. And I know that people are like, what happened? This is what happens with TikTok. Unfortunately, it's a chance we do take, and hopefully I could get an appeal, and I'm going to try to do that, and hopefully they will appeal it quickly, and we can get back on TikTok. But I'm going to take a break. I'm going to let you take a break. Okay, so this way you can, definitely inform whoever you want to inform. Okay, and I can inform people that I can inform. I do have some moderators over on Twitch that can also let people know that I did get suspended, and share it to let them come here, and whatnot, or on Kick. So we'll be right back, guys. Give us 2 minutes or so, and we will continue with our guest, Fumblez, the Retro Hunter. All right, guys, we are going to be returning back to our show here, and welcome back, Fumbles. Okay, again, I do apologize for those that were watching over on TikTok, and unfortunately, as I said, they have a lot stricter rules. This was one of the episodes that I was afraid might have happened, but we're going to make the best of that, and we're going to move forward, and you guys are going to be able to watch and listen to the rest of the broadcast here. So let's continue on and talk about those airsoft days. Was it something that you still do? Is it something you don't do anymore? You know, and has it had, you know, and why or why not?
So I had the original channel I had for Airsoft. I was heavily involved in. It was doing. I did an event shortly after I got married and moved to this place, and it was a great event. But I was burnt out. I went through a period of social media burnout. Like I'm trying to rediscover myself, trying to figure out, do I really want to continue doing this? Like, what do I want to do, social media wise, career wise, with social media? Like I kind of lost, kind of, because like the team I was part of, that was kind of going its own way. Everybody was having their own lives, and it was just like I needed to find a new niche. And I took a break from social media completely for a couple of months after that, even almost a year after that. You know, after the whole airsoft thing, like I still play on the weekends. I still play sometimes with my friends when they have events and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But I don't really have kind of took a break from recording for airsoft because I just, like I said, I had a social media burnout. Like I think I was just so airsoft thought was just so that event took so much out of me, getting ready and doing everything, the promoting and doing this and doing that, and being so involved into the airsoft community, it just burned me out.
It burn you out a lot and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
understandable. Burnout happens. I was going to ask that, you know, after, you know, being um so much involved in YouTube and doing it over a decade, do you feel that feel burnt out? Have you ever gotten burnt out? And that pretty much answers, you know, my question on that. And I
yeah. I've been
noticed
burnt
you
out more than once.
more than
I've
one.
been burnt
Yeah,
out
I'm pretty sure
more
after
than once.
15 years, you're definitely going to feel some burnout and stuff like that. Now I know you know, you're a big family guy. You talked about your
Yeah.
family. You talked about, you know, bunch of folks, and
Mhm.
I definitely want to bring up, first and foremost, I want to bring up this here, and who's this guy? Who's this handsome fellow here? Who's this guy?
So a lot of people think it's me, but that's my dad. That was my father.
And he's no longer with us. I'm
Mhm.
sorry for your loss. No,
Thank you.
so tell me what your dad's meant to you, and you know, was he a gamer? You know, did he play
Yeah.
video games? You know, and stuff like that.
So my dad was one of those guys that never brought anything real. He had the hookup for everything. So the first console he brought me was a PlayStation 1, and it was a modded console. It was
It
called
wasn't even the
Modded
real
Racing.
PlayStation.
Yes. So it
Okay,
was I got a real PlayStation, but it was modded to play bootleg games because he had a guy, I knew a guy's cousin that did it.
of course.
So he he was heavily into video games, heavily into his favorite TV show was Samurai Jack. So he was heavily, like a big kid at heart and everything. And we used to always go to his house on the weekend and play Tony Hawk. Right? That's probably the one real game he ever owned was Tony Hawk. And he used to be like, we used to have competitions and he used to be heavily involved. Like he used to love playing Tony Hawk with us. We used to always try to beat his
Well,
score and
but
everything.
that makes sense because we talked of, you know, now it makes sense why that was so special to you. You know, you had that special bond with your dad playing Tony Hawk and stuff like that. And, you know, so that's really cool. I didn't know that. And
Yeah.
you know, that's a special bond that only I'm sure you and him share and stuff. And I also know that, you know, a couple years later, your youngest brother passed. How did you deal with that, and how did gaming help you cope with that?
It was a very difficult couple years after that my dad died. I would have to say because like a year after my dad died, my grandfather died. Then a year after that, I had a friend that lost somebody, and then shortly after that, my my brother died. My younger brother died, and he was only 21 at the time, and it was a little difficult. But I definitely used gaming as a way outlet, and it's just like I play games to help me get through it. I think gaming is a good way to kind of help get your mind off the world. You could be
Right.
immersed in another world just for a little bit, just to get yourself, kind of better. So
Gotcha.
I got heavily involved in social, like, MMOs and stuff like that. And, I just got heavily involved in that. And I
Right.
got
Which I'm gonna visit here in a second, but who are these people? Who are these wonderful looking
so
people?
all right. So the two, so this was when we went to Long Island Comic Con 2 years ago. So the two on the left, the one dressed as Goku and Piccolo, are my boys, and the two on the right are my nephews. And we decided to go to Brooklyn Comic Con, and we was like, all right, we're going to make sure we have good costumes. The one year we had terrible costumes. So my son, everybody who knows Dragon Ball Z, loves Piccolo. So he got the whole Piccolo gown, got the whole makeup and everything to make Piccolo. And then my other son loves Goku, so we got him Goku and stuff like that. And then my nephew like Vegeta, so he wanted to dress up like Vegeta
And I
and
see you
everything.
you dress up yourself here. Look at this. Is that you?
Yeah,
That's
big
you
Batman fan.
dressed up, huh?
Big Batman fan. Love my favorite Batman movie, anime movie is Under the Red Hood, and I was trying to replicate that to a certain extent. And I'm like that right there was just like the height of my cosplay career. I guess it took me a little while to get that together. It was hot as crap that day, so I was dying underneath that helmet. That's a real like legit helmet, and it was like super hot, but it was so worth it. I used to keep airing it. Yeah, I still
There you
got
go.
to the
There's your
same.
Batman stuff I wanted to show. Definitely. Is that the same mask?
Yes, the same
So
mask.
that's
I
that's
have
a
it on
close up,
display.
guys, of the mask here. If you're watching,
Yeah,
that is a close up. So that's pretty cool. Uh,
yeah.
um, did you design that yourself?
No, so I was on Amazon before I got into the 3D printing. I was on Amazon and I was trying to find, I had a regular mask. I was kind of flimsy. And I was like, you know what? I want something more legit. And we're all going to legit costumes. And I found that on Amazon for like 100 something bucks. The guy made it. It actually came the wrong color, but the color it came up like was perfect. And I just brought it and it just
And it
overall,
worked. It
yeah,
worked.
it worked. And right next to that is the full Bat family from the original Batman animated series. That's with Kevin Conroy, he's one of my
Right,
favorite
right, right. I
Batman.
noticed that. Yeah. This Batman, pretty cool.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite Batmans and stuff like that. So I
But that's
try to
not the
make
only
them.
figures you collect, though. I know you collect these things here. So that's just the bottom. So what's going on with all these shelves? We got Power Rangers and what do we got? We got I can't make out the other stuff here. So what's going on here? We got a bunch of stuff figures here. So tell me a little bit about this collection here.
So the top shelf is the original 1993 to 1994 Fliphead Power Rangers with the original team before they swapped out the Red Ranger black and yellow. Uh, as
Gotcha.
a kid, as a kid, I always wanted the original Power Rangers flip heads. Always wanted, but I always only able to get Jason because everywhere else was sold out. Especially Tommy, the Green Ranger, was always sold out. And luckily, now that I'm older and I have adult money, I was able to pick up
Hey,
the
you got
whole
adult
set.
money, you could get whatever you want, right?
Yeah, I mean, my wife wasn't too happy with me coming home with toys, but I'm like, I don't drink or nothing like that. So he says, this is what I do. So I was able to get the original 1993 and 94 Fliphead Power Rangers. Behind them, I got the official Master Morpher, what was the last thing Hasbro came out with before they sold the license to I forgot who has the license now. But before they sold the license, this is the last official Master Morpher, has all of Tommy's powers and everything. And it's like,
Right.
I got that right before, like, I had to snipe to get that because it was just so popular. They were selling out left and right. Like, now these things sell in the secondhand market for a crazy amount of money. So I'm glad I was able to get that when I did.
Yeah,
And then,
that's a
of
pretty
course,
cool collection there for sure. That so that I'm pretty sure, and I actually have a similar glass case for my
Yeah.
amiibos, which we could talk about at another time for sure if that's something you enjoy as well, and if you collect. But I gotta mention, because you mentioned MMOs, and of course we do have a couple of MMOs. My some of my personal favorites: Star Wars Galaxies and Star Wars: The Old Republic. And of course, me being a massive Star Wars fan, there was no way that we're not going to talk about your Star Wars. All right, how big of a Star Wars fan are you? What do these two games mean to you as a Star Wars Galaxies and The Old Republic?
So Star Wars Galaxies was to me was the MMO. Yes, it had a lot of flaws, but the fact is, it made you feel like it was actually in the Star Wars universe. Like you didn't have to be a Jedi to actually have fun in the game. There's plenty of stories of people just enjoying life in the game. I was an Imperial, and my family were all rebels, so we also have
So
all these things.
you knew what you guys coordinated probably, right? You guys coordinated stuff and
Well, we
to
usually
get
did
things
stuff.
going.
So I did that on purposely to kind of be kind of like an antagonist to my family. My uncle and my cousin were all rebels, so they used to call me every time used to have family functions and everything. And we used to just have stories and stuff. Like I know you remember the big lockdown event they were having, where they'll take people's splice guns. And since I was
Oh
Imperial,
yeah, 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 yeah. Of course,
I
I
was
played
kind of
it when it
immune to
first came
that.
out.
Yeah, I was kind of immune to that. And then the game next to it, Star Wars Old Republic, that's when they were shutting down Star Wars Galaxies for Old Republic. So me and my friend all thought we're getting another Star Wars Galaxies, it's updated graphics, we all was hyped. I gotta admit, I was really disappointed with Star Wars Old Republic. I felt like that it wasn't really a true MMO. It was mostly like kind of a Destiny style game. It's mostly like a single player game online.
Well,
So
I've played both. Obviously, I
yeah,
played, and I played Star Wars Galaxies, and it was definitely one of my first MMOs. And they're very two different games. Where one's a sandbox, one's more of a theme park MMO.
yeah,
Where Star Wars Galaxies, you had more open world discovery. You could do pretty much do and whatever you want. There was really no theme. Like theme parks or MMOs are more like wow. It tells you what to do, where to go, and how to do it, where Star
yeah,
Wars Old Republic was, more of a theme park. It wasn't sandboxy. You played a character. It had a story. You had to do what the story that to progress and stuff. Where in Galaxies you didn't. So there were definitely two different MMOs. I do enjoy both. I do miss the original Star Wars Galaxies. I was definitely one of the first ones to open up my Jedi. Just saying.
mhm,
But yeah, it was a cool time, and definitely for sure, something that I enjoy and played. And obviously, family again is very important to you. And we have this wonderful picture here of your loving family. I believe this is your family here.
yes. That's when we went to Mexico last summer.
And I guess you guys like to spend a lot of time. Do you guys have a specific game that you guys like to play together, or do you guys do
Well,
like a Mario Kart night, or do you guys do like Mario Party or something like that? Monopoly?
so pretty much my family is usually we sometimes play game. My wife's not really big of a gamer, but she would play. We all play. Like sometimes we was playing all together. We say playing we was playing Smash Brothers together. When I first got into retro collecting, I first bought my first N64. One of the games I brought was Smash Brothers, and she was the first one to hop on and play with me and stuff like that. Just remember that from back in the day. My daughter loves gaming. She's heavily into GTA,
Oh wow,
which kind
really?
of yeah, she's very violent as a person. But all jokes aside, she loves GTA. She loves playing stuff like that. So she's into GTA. And then my two boys, my youngest, the one at the end, he's really into Godzilla and stuff like that. She plays Godzilla games, and he's like really into Fortnite, as everybody is now.
Yeah, a lot of
So
people, a lot of
usually,
kids are into Fortnite. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so like we usually will play certain games together and stuff like that, or we mostly play like card games and stuff. But yeah, I'm a big family man, and I try to always incorporate my whole summer is dedicated to my family. I tell everybody my summer is usually always I'm not doing nothing. I'm just spending time with my family.
That's awesome, man. Now I got a couple spitfire questions. I don't want you to think too hard. Just whatever comes to mind, just spit it out. Right.
Uh,
So what is your
yeah.
favorite word?
My favorite word, I guess
Any
food.
word, yeah, any word. And then,
I guess food because I'm a fatty at heart.
so what is it?
Food.
Food.
Yeah, because I'm a fatty at heart. I love to eat. And even at my job, I have a whole like cubicle just full of food just for me to eat while I'm working.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
uh, what costs? Because I know how much things cost. So I see, you know,
So
because I see,
food. Okay.
yeah,
And
that's usually just
what's
something connected.
all right? Okay, and what's something that turns you on to get you
Um,
excited?
Sales. I guess at this age, every time I see something on sale and stuff like that, um, my beautiful wife, but that's turned me on a different type of way. So stuff
Right.
like that. So those are the two things really.
And what turns you off?
uh, Sometimes I guess it's rude people. I feel like there's so many people in this world that just rude or just don't want to try to. They just want to do negative stuff just because try to bring people
Just to be
down and
negative,
stuff
right?
like that. Just even like if you like something like, oh, you're not being an adult, but it's like, come on, realistically, what does it mean to be an adult? Like, do you have to give up kind of being kind of a child, or you got to give up kind of having fun? Like,
Right. Oh,
just rude
understandable.
people
Understandable. Yeah, for
or
sure.
inconsiderate people. Some people are just really inconsiderate. You
Rude,
know?
inconsiderate. Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's a sound that you love?
Believe it or not, the violin. Anything with the violin. I'm a big fan of the violin. I feel like the violin is an amazing instrument, and I feel like that it can really calm me down. I had some dark days in my life, and the violin, just listening to certain songs with the violin kind of relaxed me. And
Uh,
so I think the violin is a beautiful instrument. I'm shocked I never learned how to play the violin, but it just the violin
So
sound
you
just kind
just
of
gotcha that something violin sounding.
yeah.
Gotcha. What's a
That's
sound that
probably
you
another
hate?
reason. Too much aggressive music. That could go for rap or rock or any type of style where they get too aggressive, they get too into hateful music, I guess kind of. Because
Mhm.
it's just like, I listen to music to relax, not to experience more stress or drama or hate. So any type of like hateful music or any type of hateful sound and stuff like that. I know it's kind
Gotcha.
of vague, but it's really
No.
the heart of it.
I understand. I understand. Cool.
Yeah.
What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck. I use it,
That's two
it's just the
fucks,
perfect
guys. That's two.
it's just
You
the
know.
perfect it's just the perfect word and now it's a pronoun, it's a vowel. Like I feel like you can't really explain a bad day without cursing or using that word. Like if you're not using that word, then was your day really that bad if you're not cursing? So
Exactly, dude. I hear you. I mean, I've used it many times. Even our last guest said that that's their favorite word as well, if I recall. So it's definitely that's two for two for that word. And I
yes.
know we didn't get to touch on professions. I know you're a mechanic, you know, and a baker and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure you're currently a mechanic, from what I understand. And your previous profession was a baker. You know, you did some baking on the side. Was it not? It wasn't professional baking, right?
So I was a baker for a supermarket. I used to do their make their muffins and stuff like that for 5 years. And then I became a mechanic, master certified mechanic by trade.
Okay.
And I worked at various dealerships, Nissan, Hyundai, bus company, and I'm working for the city. I'm currently a manager for the city as of right now for supervising their mechanics and stuff like that.
So that's your
Kind of work
current
my way to class.
profession. So that's your current profession. So what
Yes.
is so that leads me to my next question. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Uh, Other profession other than my own that I would like to attempt. That is a great question. I think something that I'm not currently attempting, I guess it would be like social media, but something that I would love to do, I guess, run a store. Like I always wanted to run a retro store,
Your own
get a
retro
place.
store?
Yeah, like a place that not just sell games, but just like when you go in there, there's like items from back in the day that you can purchase or just explore or just have fun. I feel like that people love doing retro stuff like that. People love going to retro, stores and experience stuff from the past, and that's like something that I would probably like to do and be a part of. Like there's a couple stores that already
Gotcha.
do that, and I just feel like that's something I would love to be a part of and do.
And what profession would you not like to do?
Uh, I guess kind of so to a certain extent being I guess a mechanic now in these dealerships, besides there being lack of pay and health benefits, it's just how everything's built. Like being a mechanic is cool. People get a bad view of being a mechanic. Either you're just down and dirty and being greasy, or you're like, making all this money. Like it's actually really not. If you don't know what you're doing, you're not making no money. The way the cars are being made, they're being made hard to work on, no
Right,
room
right.
and stuff like that. And I'm 6'5", so me working on a car, even with a lift, I'm hitting my head multiple
So
times.
you're
So
saying just to make sure I the profession you would not like to do is work on like aircraft mechanics. Is that what I'm getting?
well, kind of mechanics in general, starting I guess like public like vehicles, working more with like public vehicles and stuff like that. Because when I was working mechanic, don't get me wrong, I love working on cars, but sometimes working with the public and trying to get certain things done, they can make it kind of difficult for you,
So
and it
so
can make it
so so not so I'm just trying to clarify just something where it's not you're not dealing with the public as much.
yes,
I understand. So it's like anything that has to deal with public, you know, got it. Okay, makes sense.
yes,
Makes sense. Makes sense.
yeah. Because
And
sometimes
finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
besides that, you got in. I would like to hear that, I did right. I did good. When my dad died, I always remember during his funeral, he had so many people stepping up and saying so many good, wonderful stories about him that I felt like that, that's one way I would want to live my life, to have people say good things about me at my funeral, and people actually genuinely sad and just loving stories that they're saying. So that's one thing I want to say. Just, I did right. I tried to live my life the right way as
So
much as
you want God,
possible.
you want God to say you did good, pretty
Yes.
much. All right, cool,
Yeah,
cool,
that
cool.
would yeah,
All right, cool,
that would
man.
actually make me feel good.
Awesome. So that concludes the portion of the show, guys. Of we did the retro, we talked about the real, we talked about your family, talked about your hobbies and interests. Okay, now it's time for questions. Okay, unfortunately, like I did say, we did lose a lot of the viewership that people that were watching over on TikTok. But if there are any people that have questions in the chat, I will be taking them now. And of course, if you have any questions for me, and now is the time because we do a little bit of role reversal here, where now Fumbles, you get to be the host, and I get to be the guest on your questions of what you would like to know about me. And if you do have any questions, now is the time to ask.
So, what was your main build on Star Wars Galaxy?
Oh wow. So Star Wars Galaxies, I remember playing Bounty Hunter. And the reason I played Bounty Hunter was because of the ability to hunt Jedi. It was one of the only games that you were able to take missions on player to player uh um missions and having to hunt them down, and it was very enjoyable. I did like I said, I did create become a Jedi. Okay, and it really started with me as Centauro TV, as far as my that's how popular and how big I got into it. And the name came because I opened my Jedi on Christmas Eve. I'm downstairs
Oh
and I
wow!
scream, wow, and I figured out I got my Jedi. I'm like, and everybody's upstairs celebrating, and I'm over there playing, and I'm like, trying to come out with a name, and I'm like, Santa, Santa, I want to do something with Santa, 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 and then I'm like, and then Santa, and then rah, it's the first thing I screamed out was rah. So I did Santara. I created a female Jedi because there were really no many female Jedi's characters. Everybody was opening out was a male Jedi character. So I created my female Jedi character, and I started playing a female Jedi, Santara.
Hmm.
And then, I changed it, changed the pronunciation with an O for a male character, Santaro. And then I created, that. So definitely Star Wars Galaxy did have a huge influence. And, I remember playing, like I said, I remember playing Bounty Hunter, the karate guy, Tarakasi, I think it was, whatever it was. So that was really the two, and then the Jedi, of course, were the ones that I remember. But of course, to open up a Jedi back then, you had to play every class almost. So I did re-roll multiple times to get, and I know that Master Entertainer was definitely the one that opened it up for me.
Oh. Another question I have: pizza or hamburgers? Which one do you think is better?
Pizza or hamburger? How about a hamburger pizza? Can we do both? Shit. Just put the put the beef patty, put the sauce, put the mozzarella cheese on the hamburger, and then you go. You got a pizza burger. I'll take that. Pizza burger. I mean, you're asking a big guy like me to choose between food and food. I'm gonna pick both. I mean, pizza and burger. Look. It's like, if you get a good burger, you're going to get a good burger. If you get a good pizza, you're going to get a good pizza. As long as it's good, I don't care. I'll eat either one. But I will say I am a meat guy, so I like my steaks. So I might lean a little bit more toward the burger. But you could always get a good pizza too. So.
And then, if you could change one thing about the current gaming community or the current gaming atmosphere, what would it be?
There's so many answers I could go here. So many answers I can go here. So the question again, can you repeat it one more time for me? So
if you could change one thing about the current gaming, either community or atmosphere, what would that be?
All right. So I got a couple of things I can talk about, but I think allowing people to have their own opinions, not being so defensive about people not enjoying the same games you do, or having differences. I think people, especially in the gaming community, have a hard time accepting the fact that other people may not like the same things you like, or may have a different experience than you, and instead of hating on that individual for disliking a certain game, or not agreeing with your opinion, instead of having a conversation, people are so quick to judge and not listen to each other's reasoning behind why they like or dislike a particular game. And I've had conversations with people that really makes you think, in terms of, oh, okay, they perceive the game differently, and I never thought of that. And that's the thing. When playing a video game, everybody has their own different opinion. Everybody has their own experience. And I've had a conversation with Rec Wizard, okay, which I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he doesn't like Wind Waker. He's like, can't stand it. He thinks it's garbage, and I'm like, okay, well, I like Wind Waker. So I'm like, really? I'm like, that's surprising. So we had the conversation, and it really, and that's what we need. Like, he explained why he did not enjoy Waker, and a lot of, makes sense, because we are so blinded by our enjoyment that we don't look at the flaws of these games, and people that are not really enjoying it see the flaws of this game. For example, I'm playing Final Fantasy X right now, and I can see a couple of flaws, and people love that game. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, and I see a couple of flaws that, there's things that I don't enjoy. Am I enjoying the game? Absolutely. Is there, game there that part of the game that I don't like? Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Having the conversations and having different discussions, instead of jumping down somebody's throat. We need to stop doing that. Have open discussions, and when people, you know, get adamant, understand that it's just passion coming through, not anger. I think people look at it as, oh, this dude's being angry, or that, she's angry that I said that. No, they're just passionate about what they love. So take that into consideration when talking to people. They are just passionate gamers, like most passionate people are. I could tell you're passionate. You're a
Yeah.
passionate gamer. The gaming community, we're a bunch of very passionate gamers. So just be, open to discussion. And I think that's what we really need to do, is just be open to discussion when somebody just disagrees with your opinion.
I feel like that too. I feel like that a lot of people take a lot of things personally, when it's just like, this is my viewpoint,
Right.
especially when it comes to gaming. Like, you could say, like, oh, I don't like the this console or that console, but it's just like, okay, but that's your opinion. You have a right to it.
Exactly. We do
Uh,
have a question. We do have a question in the chat. I wanna definitely address the question in chat. This comes from what game or action figure you always wanted but never got?
so the one game that I always wanted that I never got, wow, that's kind of hard since I mostly got most of those games. But
Right. Or action figure.
so action figure wise, I always wanted the original Power Ranger Megazord, and I never got it. I always got the
Got it.
ones after that. I never got the first season Power Ranger Megazord, and a Ghostbuster Firehouse from Ghostbusters. I told my mother to this day. I told my mom, no, I'm 38 years old, and I told my mom I still want
You still want the
Ghostbuster Firehouse.
Ghostbusters?
And she was like, "You're 38, and you still hollering me for a Ghostbuster Firehouse?" And I was like, "Yes,
Yeah,
I
man,
want
I
that as
want
my
that
wedding gift."
Ghostbusters, bro. I want that Ghostbusters.
I have nowhere. My wife is like, "Grow up." I said, "I don't care. I have nowhere to put it, but I still want a Ghostbuster Firehouse just to have it." But that's probably one of them. That's the main thing I always wanted. Big Ghostbuster fan. I always wanted that firehouse to go with all my accessories.
We have another
Uh,
question in chat here. What is your view on exclusivity on platforms?
So my view on exclusivity on platforms, I feel like it could be a good thing or a bad thing. The good thing about exclusivity, it makes you want to go with certain consoles. Like Xbox had Halo, so Sony had Final Fantasy for a little bit. I feel like first couple months exclusivity is great, because it kind of gives you a reason why. Okay, the reason why I bought a PlayStation is to have this game, or the reason why I bought an Xbox to have this game. It makes a game worthwhile. Longevity, it's just like, come on. I think it's time for you to share, the console love. Like Helldivers to me is a perfect example of that. I mean, the Helldiver community been begging Sony to allow the Xbox players to join. And I feel like the Helldivers community is just one of the instances where I feel like that exclusivity should be shared. Like it should be, especially like online games. You should be allowed to play with other people. Like I feel like they should just let it go. So I do like it, but after a while,
Okay.
it's like, come on, kind of, it's time to share the love. Just like they
Okay.
did with Indiana Jones.
No, I understand that. That's a good way to look at it. Time exclusives are okay, but full, on
Or
exclusive lifetime exclusives, yeah, kind of. Now,
it kind of,
why? I
yeah,
understand that. I understand
yeah,
that. I
it kind
understand
of
that
takes
to a
away from the
point.
aspect of the game. Like Final Fantasy VII is going to be exclusive to the Sony. I get it. That's got to be a reason for them to buy it. God of War. But it's like other games, it's just like, come on, you kind of can share it a little bit. Like Xbox is sharing everything at this point. And I feel like that's a good kind of actor to see about it, because it's not more about the exclusivity, it's more about the games and having fun. And the more people that enjoy it makes it so, a lot more people can have fun. Like
Right,
right
more
now,
more more people get to experience, the game than not. Some might
exactly.
not be able to, don't have this. Why do I need to purchase this? So that makes perfectly sense.
Yeah,
Good. Did you have any
exactly.
more questions for me?
Um,
And do we have any more questions in chat? Keep, chat. If there's any more questions you guys would like to ask, please feel free to do so.
if there's one game that you could get remade or remastered, where would it be?
Oh, I answered this. That's an easy one. That's an easy one, and it's surprising that I think a lot of people may not think. And of course, yeah, I could say, the Final Fantasy games. I could say the Dragon Quest games, and all that. Which a couple of them I already have done, but it's got to be Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve. Where we are like at that point where this game needs a remaster, a remake, or something. It's way overdue. It's a fantastic. It's like I guess you could say a cult classic when it like with like for movies. No, this
Yeah,
is our cult classic game. It's a game that needs a full on remaster or remake with the controls and stuff like that, and the graphics. I love that game, and I definitely think that that is the game that needs to be remade. We got Silent Hill, and we got all that stuff. We need this one
I,
here for sure.
I can agree with you. Like I feel like Fireside Eve and Dino Crisis, and both those games is in time for a remaster. And both of those games kind of follow the same pattern where the first game is all about horror and the second game is a little bit more action based with shooting and stuff. And those two games definitely deserve a remaster. Especially
Yeah.
Dino Crisis for me. I love Dino Crisis. That's like my favorite game by far.
So we do have a couple more questions in the chat that I'm going to take. I know we're going a little bit over time, but that's fine. As so we do have a couple more. This one goes out to both of us. What game made you want to start collecting? I think we answered that earlier in the show, but for people that might have missed it, what was the game that made you start collecting? That's the
The game
question.
that, so you mean the game that made me start retro collecting?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
that well, it wasn't really for me, it wasn't a game, it was more a kind of thing my wife did. My wife was trying to get me a PS5 for so in case people want to know, I got married and bought the house the same week. And when we got married, was moving in, and it was around the time my wife was trying to give me a PS5. I kind of would say a wedding gift, my birthday gift. She couldn't
Mm.
find them. It was right after COVID. So she was like, "Look, you're not going to find none of this stuff." So I gave up one day. I just happened to go online and I found, a retro store by my house, and I went there and I just went all out. And like I
And you
found
started, and that was it. You started collecting.
yeah, and I told my wife,
Okay,
it
gotcha.
was the N64 itself that just started a collection, and then I guess you could
Yeah,
say Golden, because I
gotcha.
saw
For
GoldenEye and I
me,
was like, I had to
it
get it.
was more of I grew up with these games and never sold them. So those, for those that are wondering, so it wasn't really, me collecting per se. It was that I grew up with a lot of these games and I never actually got rid of my systems, never actually got rid of my stuff. And then later on, I did get more stuff that I really wanted to have. Friends or family had some stuff that they wanted to get rid of. They gave it to me. And then I'm like, you know what? I did go and, did try to get a couple of games that I wanted that I didn't have that I played growing up that I didn't own. So most of the stuff I have now is I played when I was younger and I own now. There's really not much that I'm looking forward to that you know, stuff like that. For me it's just I actually stopped collecting per se. I mean if I see a good deal I'll get it, but I stopped collecting and stuff like that.
I kind of took a little break, not stop collecting, but I'm kind of getting specific titles. Like I'm not trying to get a lot of
Gotcha.
shovelware.
Mikey, what's your go-to game on a hectic day? My go-to game on a hectic day. I mean, I'm a big fan. I got to go with my favorite game, Final Fantasy 2 for the SNES. Final Fantasy, also known as Final Fantasy 4. That's pretty much my hectic go-to game, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Also, we got another question. What was your best find out? We answered that. We answered that. What was your best find out in the wild? 8-bit fits asked that question. So you could remind them again what was your best one because I know.
So, so it says so like best find in a while would be still the time control I got from a friend, but actually like hunting like in the trenches. I would have to say one of my best games was Shadow Hearts for the PS2.
I love that game. Have it,
And
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I got that for next to nothing. Trying to see, wow. Um Wild Arms F was actually a great one I found in the wild. I found it at a retro store in
Oh,
Brooklyn, and I was training. And I was actually debating whether to get that or get some other game or to get a Family Guy. And my cousin was like, "Yo, get Family Guy," but the owner of the store was just like, "No, trust me. If you
grab
have
this.
two choices," he was like, he took
Grab
Family
this
Guy.
one.
Is like,
Take this. Trust
"Nope,
me. Take
yes,"
it. It's
and he was
cheap.
like,
It's
you
cheaper.
want
You
this
want
one."
it.
Yeah, and I was like, "Well, who's to say to somebody that has more knowledge than me?" And I got it, and I love Wild Arms. That's why I got slowly into it. I found out that this is a
Fantastic
remake of the
series.
PS1 one, and it just escalated from there. Then also when I got Wu Tang, because me and my my dad and stuff. Wu
Yeah.
Tang is a great game.
So, do you have any more questions for me at this time?
I think I
We
got
good?
since you asked me if pineapple belongs on pizza, do you believe oxtail belongs on pizza?
I never had it, so I don't know. I can't answer that. I never had oxtail on pizza. I mean, I
I
try
think
everything. I'm not a picky eater. There's pretty much only like one thing I can't really eat, because of a texture thing. But I
okay.
mean, I'll try anything once. So I don't know if it belongs. I can't tell you if it belongs on pizza or not. I never tried it. So
Okay. So it's like to be continued.
to be continued. Yeah, and then, once I try it, I'll let you know. But no, I
Thank you.
have not tried oxtail on pizza.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's all my questions.
All right, so guys, that concludes episode 2 of Retro and Real with Fumbles. I want to thank Fumbles for joining me. I do want to apologize for the interruption today, guys. We do have another guest next Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. I do not know what my suspension will be on TikTok, and how I plan on moving forward. I also want to possibly, maybe you could come back for a future episode,
Yeah.
as well. Get you a little more time on here that we lost during the interruption, and
Just let
stuff
me
like
know.
that. And also wanted to ask, we do have a guest next week, which is B Tribe Wolf. He will be joining us at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, on Saturday. Okay, special time. We will not be doing any shows on Sunday. Sunday's Easter, so we're not going to be doing that. And then look for following shows. Make sure to follow for updates, and also, I want to give you your opportunity to tell people where they could find you. Your socials, anything that you want to plug, anything you're working on, please let us know.
So you can follow me on YouTube. There's 2 channels: Rap Bastard Airsoft, and then Rap Bastard Retro Hunter, which you'll see both see the same picture of the same rat that was earlier. And then you can find me on TikTok as Fumbles Retro Hunter. I think, sorry, Rat Back Retro Hunter. And then you'll see Fumbles, and you'll see the same rat. I'm currently working on me building a home server to kind of digitally download all these games behind me and start visiting more retro stores and stuff like that, and expos. There's a couple expos I've been invited to that I'm really looking forward to. We go to, so I'm gonna be doing a lot more live streams at these expos or these retro stores like I did previous weeks.
Nice, nice. And who would you like to see as a guest on the show?
It's funny because he's actually the next guest. Wolf Gaming, Wolf Stride Gaming is actually somebody I would love to see him on there. I feel like he'd be a perfect guest on here. And another one is Lee Gaming.
Lee Gaming. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, guys, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Guys, look for the episode 2 on Spotify later this week. Again, I wanted to thank Fumbles for joining me, and looking forward to our next episode this Saturday, guys, at 7 p.m. Have a wonderful rest of your day and week, and I will see you guys next week for episode 3 with B Tribe Wolf. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Fumbles.
Thank you.
And we are out, guys. Have a good one.